Surrounded by the noise of NYC, she suddenly felt something she couldn't explain, and it changed her day completely. In the middle of a busy New York day, where yellow taxis blurred past like streaks of impatience and strangers brushed shoulders without a second glance, something felt different, like the world had paused for a moment no one else noticed. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when we least expect them, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. Ethan Cole had always moved with the rhythm of the city. Fast steps, eyes forward, no distractions. At 34, he had mastered the art of being present but never truly connected. He worked in a glass building that reflected the sky but never let him see it. His days were filled with emails, deadlines, and meetings that blurred into each other like a never-ending loop. But today was different. It started as a feeling, subtle, almost unnoticeable. A weight in his chest that wasn't exactly sadness but wasn't peace either. As he stepped out of the subway station into the chaos of Manhattan, the air felt heavier. The noise felt sharper. The faces around him felt more distant than ever. He walked past a street performer playing a violin, but instead of blending into the noise like usual, the melody lingered. It followed him, threading through the chaos, tugging at something deep inside him he hadn't felt in years. Ethan slowed down. That alone was unusual. For as long as he could remember, slowing down meant falling behind. And in a city like this, falling behind felt like disappearing. But the feeling in his chest wouldn't let him keep going the way he always did. He stopped at the corner of 42nd Street. People rushed past him, annoyed, bumping into him without apology. But for the first time, he didn't react. His eyes drifted across the crowd, until they landed on something that didn't belong to the rush. An old man sat on a bench. He wasn't asking for money. He wasn't speaking. He just sat there, holding a small, worn-out notebook in his hands, staring at it like it carried the weight of his entire life. Ethan didn't know why, but he couldn't look away. Something about the man felt familiar, not in appearance but in presence. Like a quiet sadness Ethan had buried long ago had somehow taken shape and was sitting right there in front of him. He hesitated. Then, against his nature, he walked toward the bench. The old man didn't look up as Ethan approached. His hands trembled slightly as he held the notebook, his fingers brushing over its edges as if afraid it might disappear. Ethan sat down beside him. For a moment neither of them spoke. The city roared around them, but the space between them felt strangely quiet. Then the old man sighed. It wasn't just a breath, it was the kind of sigh that carried years of regret, memories, and things left unsaid. Ethan swallowed. Something in his chest tightened. He wasn't sure what made him do it, but he leaned slightly closer and glanced at the notebook. Inside were names, dozens of them, each written carefully, almost lovingly. Some had small notes beside them, dates, tiny details, little pieces of stories that seemed too personal to be written so openly. Ethan felt like he was looking at someone's entire life condensed into fragile pages. The old man finally spoke, his voice soft but heavy. He said he was trying to remember everyone. Ethan frowned slightly, not understanding. The man explained slowly that his memory wasn't what it used to be. Every day, pieces of his life slipped away. Faces blurred, moments faded, names disappeared. So he wrote them down. Not just names, but everything he could remember about the people who mattered to him. The way someone laughed, the way someone used to say his name, the way a moment felt. Because once it was gone forever. Ethan felt something crack inside him. He thought about his own life, the people he had once known so well but no longer spoke to, friends who became strangers, family he rarely called, a past he had locked away because it was easier to keep moving than to look back. And suddenly, the rush of the city felt meaningless. The old man turned a page and paused. His finger rested on a name. His eyes filled with something fragile, recognition maybe, or the fading shadow of it. He said he couldn't remember her anymore, just the name, just the feeling that she had meant everything. Ethan's chest tightened painfully. He didn't know why, but tears threatened his eyes. Because in that moment, he realized something terrifying. It wasn't just the old man losing his memories. Ethan had been losing his too, just more quietly. He had forgotten what it felt like to truly care, to pause, to connect, to remember people not as contacts in a phone, but as pieces of his life. The old man closed the notebook gently. He said the hardest part wasn't forgetting. It was knowing that something important was missing, but not knowing what. Ethan couldn't speak. For the first time in years, he felt still, truly still. And in that stillness, something began to change. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and scrolled through his contacts, hundreds of names. Yet somehow it felt empty. He stopped at one, his mother. He hadn't called her in months. His finger hovered over the screen. Then he pressed it. The phone rang, once, twice. And when she answered, her voice was filled with surprise and warmth that hit him like a wave he hadn't realized he needed. Ethan closed his eyes. The city disappeared for a moment. And just like that, something came back. After the call, he looked at the old man who was watching him now with a faint, knowing smile. Ethan didn't know what to say, but he didn't need to. Some moments don't need words. They just need to be felt. The sun shifted slightly, casting a softer light over the street. The noise of the city returned, but it didn't feel as overwhelming anymore. It felt distant, manageable, human. Ethan stood up slowly, but before he left, he did something he never would have done before. He asked the old man his name. The man smiled, and for a moment it looked like he remembered everything. Ethan walked away differently than he had arrived, slower, aware, present. The city hadn't changed, but he had. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan began to notice things he had ignored for years. The barista, who always greeted him with a tired smile. The janitor in his building who hummed softly while working. The coworker who seemed fine but carried quiet exhaustion in his eyes. He started remembering people, not just seeing them, and little by little his life began to feel fuller, not because anything big had happened, but because he had finally stopped rushing past everything that mattered. But the moment that changed him forever came one evening when he returned to that same bench. The old man wasn't there. Instead, there was a small notebook left behind. Ethan picked it up carefully. Inside, on the first page, was a new name, his. No long description, just a short line beneath it. Reminded me that it's not too late. Ethan's vision blurred. Because in helping someone else hold on, he had found something he didn't even know he had lost. A reason to slow down, a reason to care, a reason to remember. If this story touched your heart, take a moment right now to like, comment, and share it with someone who might need this reminder today. And before this story ends, here's something special. Comment below the name of someone you don't want to forget. Someone who truly matters in your life. Because time moves fast, the world gets loud, and it's easy to lose things we think will always be there. But sometimes, in the middle of a busy day, something feels different for a reason, and if you listen closely enough, it might just lead you back to what matters most.